firefighters, paramedics, rescuers. Those people played a role that we'll never forget. Many of them paid with their own lives. Probably the greatest loss of firefighting personnel at any one time in the history of this country. For the veteran, 911 didn't end when the sun set that day. 911 for the veteran is going on right now as we speak. It was the events of that day that propelled us into what has now become the Iraq-Afghan war. We're still fighting it on a daily basis. Anybody who thinks that terrorism doesn't exist or that we're safer now prior to 911 must have their head buried in the sand or have no communication whatsoever. Terrorism exists today in a greater form than ever and in more and more places every day. It's very, very difficult not to be cynical when you get up and look at the early morning news and see what happens across this globe. I don't believe that it's a matter of if we ever have another 911. I think it's a matter of when, unless our country, our citizens, those of you here, us up here, leadership and communities, stand together and come up with some solutions and get the right people to carry those solutions out. Turn the other cheek is a great phrase. I've always learned as a young kid that turning the other cheek is one surefire thing. You'll get both sides of your face slapped. And I believe that to this day. I see no evidence to the contrary. What we have to do here is unite once again and get the same spirit we had in this country when people could hardly wait to get in line to join the military to stand up against the tyranny of World War II. In Vietnam, it was a little difficult, and in Korea, a little more difficult, because they weren't declared wars. They sort of crept up on us. And we tried a patience game. And to some extent it worked in that we're still alive and we're still floating. But we didn't stop the tyranny that existed in those countries. Those countries are still hotbeds of danger today. The same thing is going to happen now in the Middle East with the Iraq-Afghan situation. It's not, this as it being a day of memory, I don't want to get onto any political things whatsoever, but I would like to focus your attention, especially the young people here. Today we have so many amenities and so many conveniences and so many things to occupy our time. It's very, very difficult time to sit down and watch the news, repetitious over and over as it may be, or to learn a little bit about everything here. But I think the very best thing that a parent can do or a grandparent can do is teach their young people what's going on in the world and get their focus of attention, because the day will come, if you don't, when it will get your attention, and it may very well be too late for you to do anything about it. I've been around long enough to see this happen on more than one occasion. I see no reason to believe that anything is different now. Here in our community, our community is pretty well united. We have some people that this is not just a showcase event. I think they honestly feel a great deal of remorse and a great deal of remembrance of those people who lost their lives on 9/11 and the continuing terrorism that goes on today. In closing, I'd like to recite the words of a popular song that came out of 9/11. The great country western singer Alan Jackson, "Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning?" One of the lines in that song was, "I'm just a writer of simple songs. I'm not a real political man. I watch CNN, but I don't know that I can tell you the difference between Iraq and Iran." Today, we better learn that difference. We better learn what's going on all around us, or we're doomed to live it over again, just as we did on that day after Pearl Harbor, and just as we'll do another day down the road, probably not too far away after this. I would strongly, strongly urge you to look real close around you at your fellow man, at your fellow, your citizens of your community, your families, and think about what you want for their future. 2 months from today, we'll be commemorating another anniversary. On November 11th, right over here in the Rose Garden, it'll be Veterans Day. We'll go through a somewhat summer-type ceremony. Someday, as great as these ceremonies are, someday it would be a wonderful world if we didn't have to have any new ones pop up. Only you and I are the only people that can do anything about that. So I would like to thank the city once again and thank you all for coming out. And I too would like to say God bless America.